Oh. This is best, thank you. It needs glasses.
This is what it was doing the other day. Charter
Oh,
Commissioner.
it took a while to focus?
No, it just never focused. And then the next time we did it,
Oh, okay, well then, yeah, flip to the other camera and then try again.
Afternoon and welcome to our events commemorations meeting. Today is May 15th and it is 3:32 in the afternoon. If we could get a roll call, please, Amber.
Mrs. Cooper,
Here.
Mr. Keppel is absent. Mr. Ayer is absent. One present, we do not have quorum.
All right, so with that, as the clerk indicated, we do not have quorum, so we can't form a committee at the moment to conduct any business. So what I would suggest is we form as a subcommittee of the committee to hear information only until the other member arrives, which we do anticipate that member will be arriving relatively soon. And when she does, we can then move back to the order of business as proposed.
Okay. So because of that, I'm going to skip over the approval of minutes because that requires a quorum. And we're going to move on to the unfinished business. And I'm going to, since we're a subcommittee, I can just talk. I don't need to add something to the agenda since I don't have a quorum.
As long as it's informational.
Okay, information only. We're going to talk about something that's not on the agenda first, which is our Memorial Day Veterans event. Because I'm being told we have some new information on that.
Yes, I got confirmation from the American Legion. The Memorial Day Veterans Service will take place on Memorial Day at J.R. Smith Park. There'll be a short service starting at 10 a.m. And then there will be a procession from J.R. Smith. They'll come up to the memorial, do a salute, correct? And then they'll go down and proceed to the Memorial Park, and it will end around 11 a.m. at the cemetery. Police and fire, I briefed them on this already. We knew it was coming, so we were aware. City will be providing bleachers for the event and electricity. We've ordered those. They'll be delivered around like 8 a.m. that day, so we should have everything we need for it.
Okay. With the plans for J.R. Smith, do we think this will be the last year J.R. Smith is going to be completely empty like this?
Yeah, it's a great question. I know a couple of years ago when we were talking to the veterans organizations, we did indicate that we, at some point in the future, we were going to have to make alternative plans. I do anticipate that construction will be underway at this point next year at J.R. Smith Park. So we'll have to develop an alternative plan. Now, having said that, I think we did indicate that there could be an alternative location at J.R. Smith that could work. But again, it really will depend upon the contractor and the order in which they're, doing the business that they are. So a good thing to call out for sure. And one thing we will certainly talk to the veterans organizations about.
So we'll be mindful of that
Yeah.
in 2026 as the construction is going. Okay, that sounds good for this year. Moving on, we had the 4th of July in Sizzle, and I was looking up 60 days before August 16th, and that's not until June. So no big deal if we don't have the permit for Sizzle, but we anticipate getting that permit before our next events committee, I would think.
Yes, I do have a meeting scheduled with the Civic Association representatives later this month. I think it's actually next week to begin the very, very early stages. So we'll remind them get the application in.
Okay.
But we do have an update, I think, on the 4th. We wanted to
Okay.
kind of talk through that a little bit.
Yes,
So,
please. I know there's been lots of meetings happening, so
Yeah.
fill us in.
so included in the packet is the flyer that's now publicly available regarding the upcoming events. So when we first started this event, or when we first started planning for this event, we had talked about the possibility of making some adjustments to the parade route and maybe some adjustments to the fireworks location. At the end of the day, concluded that neither one of those is going to work this year. So the parade route is still the same, which I think we've announced at a previous events committee meeting. So it will begin at the middle school, proceed down South Columbus Street, wrap around the square, head out 30 Granville, and then head back to the middle school. We are going to we're committed to do a little bit more on the data collection side as it relates to the parade, really trying to understand how quickly they get through the 37 intersection, so the Cherry Street intersection. So if there is a change, at least we have a better sense of the timing for that, if that's a change that's made next year. The other thing that's also on our radar is really what happens to the parade at the end of it in terms of how the event participants disperse. How much of that is going back to the middle school and how much of that's just sort of, fanning off at the end of the parade. And the reason for that is as we think about alternative sites, obviously we'll have to factor in how to, people to get picked up. If the start of the parade is in one location and the end of the parade is in a separate location, just how much space would we need in order to accommodate the people that do need to be picked up. So yeah, we'll gather some data on that. We'll certainly share that with the events committee as well. The other,
Potentially using drones too, maybe
yes, I think we are committed to getting the drone up to do some accounting there too.
This will be an interesting year to do it because I don't believe there's anything going on the square.
And that's where I was going to go next.
Okay,
Yes.
so this will be a good trial because before you might anticipate that the crowd walks over to the square.
Yep.
And so since there's nothing on the square, this is a great medium year to gather data.
Exactly. Yeah. So as we know, the chamber, it indicated to us a year ago that they would not be sponsoring an event on the square on the 4th. So the committee talked through the options of having an event on the square. I think what we ultimately concluded is that it's a lot of city resources to support a parade of this magnitude, and really felt like we wanted to devote those resources to the parade and parade management issues. But recognizing that the community, I think, has some expectation that there should be something more than just a parade and maybe just fireworks. So the plan is to then kind of try to build out the experience at the fireworks a little bit more. So on the flyer, you'll see that at the beginning of 4 p.m. at the middle school, we'll have the food trucks stationed there. We'll have a kids zone set up, music, a DJ of some sort will be there to kind of help entertain the crowd as it's gathering that evening for the fireworks display. It also has in here a glow party. I don't know exactly what a glow party is, but anyway, it's a little bit of a glow
Seems
party.
like your type of thing there also.
Maybe, yeah. I think it's those things you wrap around your wrist and you kind of swing around, but the Civic is working on that, and so
Okay.
there's going to be just a little
I'll be
event.
coming to you for consulting.
Yeah. So a little something for the kids to do 8:30 to 9, and then the idea is at 9, try to get the kids back with their parents and settled in before the fireworks display begins. So
where's that happening? The glow party and the food trucks and the kids zone?
yeah,
and the
so I think
DJ?
that's what we'll work on next, is getting a little more
Okay.
a visual of the middle school, kind of where everything's going to be placed. There's been some talk, but nothing definitive yet.
So first step, location.
First step,
Second step, zoning in.
yes. Some of it was a little bit driven by the ability of Civic to raise some funds to support these activities. They've been successful in raising those funds, so now they're feeling more comfortable about the programming that'll be provided at the site as well. So, and then from a city perspective, the event that evening. So a lot of the barricades that are pre-positioned for the parade will be moved down to the middle school and then repositioned. Our service team did a lot more kind of cordoning off the fireworks zone last year than we had done in the prior year, and the fire department said that that was very helpful. So obviously we'll continue to do that. I think one of the big things we'll do this year that we haven't done in the past is we are going to do pre-notices to neighbors along Letts Avenue in and around where the school is, and remind them that fireworks cannot be set off at the same time that the city's official fireworks display is going on. And I shouldn't say the city's, I should say the big, Civic Big Walnut event is going on. It does cause some disruption. It almost shut down the fireworks last year. So we're going to be more proactive about alerting the residents that are nearby.
So as far as the process goes, since we've already received a permit for the parade, do we need to receive something for this event, or it's just, we're just gonna work through the working group?
Yeah, so this is, well, one, it's not occurring on a public, or it's not occurring on city property. It's not in the right of way, it's not in the square, it's not, whatever. So,
it'll
I mean, it is
use our resources, but it's not on our.
right. I mean, it is a public facility because it is the middle school, but they are seeking a permit through the middle school. So
Okay, there's still a process.
Yeah,
It just doesn't come through this
Right.
committee.
exactly.
Great. Okay, I'm all for that. So it looks like, so it'll be different, that this is gonna start at 4 p.m.
Mhm.
as far as probably like the food trucks and kids zone and stuff.
Exactly.
Okay. So parade, and then everyone goes home and it gives our services and our police and our fire time to reroute
Yeah.
and prepare. And then something that was brought up a couple of years ago, and it was just in passing, I don't remember if it came from Kovac or not, but was that there was a certain type of training that our police officers could go through that was fire related, that it would allow the fire department for like, it was like a certificate for like one night only or for a special event that would give them the right to, I don't know that it was necessarily handling the fireworks, but it was some sort of like, does that sound familiar to you, Amber? I'd have to ask Kovac about it.
Yeah.
It's probably too late for this year, but it might be something to look into down the road if it was, since I know our police officers do a lot of training as it is, so it might not be something that they can fit in, but if it would help our fire department and they could work together, it might be something that they would be willing to look into. I'd have to ask Kovac, or I could be making it all up, but I don't think so. I think there was some sort of certificate or training that the police officers could get
Okay.
that would help them. It would give them the right to do certain things with fireworks specifically.
Okay. Yeah,
that doesn't sound familiar to you?
It doesn't to
Does that
me,
sound
but
familiar
that's
to you? No?
Yeah.
Not to you either, Daryl?
not to me, but that's okay. I did want to point out a couple of other things, now that as we're talking through this event. One of the things we had put in our lessons learned document that went to council regarding these major community events is that we had been lax in terms of getting the permit to close down the state route. So again, I think I've announced that before, but just to be clear that we have secured that permit from the state. So that's, really good that I think we're
Made
getting into
Howard
that.
happy, I'm sure.
Yes. Well, and he was instrumental in making it happen. So
Thank you,
good
Chief.
for him
I know
to do
that was something important to him.
And then the digital signs are the other thing we've been trying to, find other uses for. So clearly they'll be deployed on both ends of town to redirect traffic around the square during the fireworks. But what we did last year and we'll do again this year is then take those down to the school grounds and change the message on them that basically, says something about not letting off fireworks, on the school grounds.
We don't want any fireworks being let off on school grounds besides what our fire department is doing.
Correct.
And the near neighbors.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I think those are most of the highlights unless you think there's anything else.
You covered.
This is really Civic's event, but I was just curious if you've ever heard, I was talking to a classmate at Leadership Delaware, And they went to some events where they didn't have fireworks, they had a laser show. Have you ever seen those? Have you ever worked in cities that did those?
No.
No, you've just heard of
we
them.
did- Yeah.
It was
heard
just
of them.
something, he was showing, we were looking at some YouTube videos on our break because it was just something different. So I was just curious if you'd ever heard of that.
I should also add, I mean, on the flyer, you do see the Fraternal Order of Eagles listed. They are the presenting sponsor for the fireworks on the 4th of July. So really appreciate their ability and willingness to step up and kind of help support this event. The Civic has also done additional outreach to the other jurisdictions, Berkshire Township and Galena, to ask them to be partners, financial partners if they can, in these types of festivities as well, because kind of reinforce the notion that, again, this, while it may be occurring in Sunbury, it really is a community event in the Big Walnut area. And so trying to just, I think, again, kind of convey that message. So
Do we know if they've been successful?
I believe they've secured funds from Galena, and Berkshire is currently considering the request. So.
So with now that this is complete, then will we be able to release a events calendar for the city? I know we were kind of waiting.
So it has been released. I know it's on our website. I put it up and it says TBD, so I'll go ahead and update that and then I'll push it out a little bit more. We kind of held back until we knew exactly where it was gonna be held at.
Yeah.
But we're gonna get it out. I think I sent it over to Nancy as well, so we'll get an updated one up there. And then Jillian is going to create a Facebook page for the 4th of July itself, where we can share this information and the sponsors can come and all of that. So
Yeah.
once that gets up and running, we'll share that on the city's Facebook page as well.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
4th of July, jeez, maybe it'll stop raining so we can enjoy this. Okay,
Well, hopefully.
and then nothing to report on Sizzle just yet?
And nothing of note.
You have a meeting scheduled or
Yes.
you've been cursory
Yeah.
meeting with them?
Meeting scheduled next week. Yeah, to just kind of I think to kind of lay out what just kind of the framework of what needs to happen, and particularly in light of, again, the lessons learned from the last, from last year and the prior years. So we'll walk through that document with them a little bit more and
Yeah, like a lessons learned Sizzle edition. Okay,
and then go from there.
okay.
All right.
So would you like the record to reflect that our other
Yes.
committee member is here? So we will now move from the subcommittee of the committee to a committee.
Yes.
I apologize.
Thank you. We appreciate you being here. So
Okay,
yes.
that's all we need to do for that. So I'm gonna just take 1 second and backtrack and do a motion to approve the minutes from April 17th. So move. I will second. Roll call, please.
Strayer,
Yes.
Ms. Cooper,
Yes.
2 yeas, motion's passed.
Sorry, I threw you off by jumping around our agenda here. Okay, looks like we are back on track now with new business. So I'm going to invite the folks up that are from the DAR to talk about this Patriots Memorial Project.
Yes. So we have Linda Shields. So Linda, if you want to come up and then do the introduction of others that are going to help with the presentation, I'd appreciate that.
And we have this in our packet.
We do, and then there were a few additional notes that's the 2-pager that has been added.
Got it, okay.
Yep.
My name is Linda Shields. I'm with the Delaware City DAR chapter, and we have with us Brian Delaware, who's the Director of Veterans Services of Delaware County, and Amy Rice, she is with Delaware City Parks and Recreation too. And we've all been involved in this together. Just to give you a little background, the Delaware City chapter of DAR has been around since 1909. We just celebrated our 116th anniversary, and our mission is to promote historic preservation, education, and patriotism within the local community. Okay. I'll just tell you what we've done and how we've come about this, and then they can kind of tell you where we are. But, we've been researching the Delaware County Revolutionary War veterans. And in that research, we have identified a group of Revolutionary War veterans whose graves are not marked. They may never have been marked, they may have been buried on farm. They may have been lost to the changes in topography. We've got waterways coming through Delaware, marked here in 1840, or just lost to time. These people who fought in the Revolutionary War became the pioneers of Delaware County. The Delaware City Chapter Daughters of the American Revolution, the Delaware County veterans, and the municipalities do wish to commemorate this group of veterans whose love for country, whose fight for freedom, founded the nation. And we do believe that when we honor military service of those who secured our liberty 250 years ago, that we remember and honor the sacrifice of every soldier who fought for and continues to fight for the liberty of every American. In light of the semi-quincentennial celebration, the 250th anniversary of the birth of our nation, it seems appropriate to begin by memorializing unmarked Revolutionary War patriots of Delaware County. But from this beginning, to create a memorial which stands for all of the unmarked or forgotten veterans of Delaware County. Our unmarked Revolutionary War heroes are spread throughout the county. So the memorial should reflect the entire county by being located at 3 communities. The big communities, Delaware City, Sudbury, and Powell. In partnership with the Veteran Services and cities, we do envision 3 related but unique monuments that would serve as a tangible reminder of our county's history. These monuments should invoke a solemn respect for the sacrifice that they represent and last for generations to come, maybe another 250 years. Just to kind of let you know the stories of those who are unmarked in your area. So you have probably the 6 townships that are on the eastern edge of the county. We have Benjamin Hillman, who would be buried in Stark Cemetery. And it's just really interesting. He was a lieutenant. He was wounded in the war. His wife applied for her widow's pension, and she was declined. Not because there was any problem with his service or anything, but because she died a week later. So he remains unmarked. And looking through his pension papers, we see where his family looked in 1907 to get records again to get him marked. And lo and behold, we cannot find a marker for this man, and we just really feel like, you know, like he really ought to be memorialized.
Can I interrupt real quick?
He's done.
So this memorial that you have, will you have the names of the folks who are unmarked on this memorial?
Either on the memorial or in here, because we want to leave room for those.
That you might find
You know,
more?
in 10 years, we'll probably want to find one.
Okay.
Leave room for those, and then to leave room for 1812. And Spanish American War, and then the Civil War. There are people who are unmarked from all of those.
Okay, continue, sorry.
Oh, no, that's fine. And another one that we found, and don't let me go on, because I will. In Harlem Township, named Silas Smith. No record of him anywhere, no record of him as even having died in Delaware County. And yet he served. He went to war substituting for his father in Pennsylvania when he was just 16 years old. He spent his entire youth serving in the Revolutionary War, even while he had smallpox. And he's just not memorialized anywhere.
But you know that he was from Delaware County?
When he applied for his pension, he was living in Harlem Township.
Oh, okay.
And when he died, his will was adjudicated in Harlem Township as well. So, yeah.
So do you have a committee that does all this work of research? This is the committee. You guys are hard workers. Oh my goodness.
That's really admirable.
Oh my gosh.
It's just, I'm having to find, it's just interesting to find these stories.
It sounds
Love
like
these
it.
stories. So, anyway, I don't want to take up more of your time, and I'm sorry, but the memorial should be, determined by the city. The location should be determined by the city. They would be, planned to be unveiled with a ceremony on Veterans Day, on November 11th, 2026. We've been talking about a design competition, so that would be 3 memorials, which would each be unique, which still go together well. And it would stand as a place to memorialize future, as we find more and more veterans, 1812, Civil War, Spanish American War.
How,
Recap, while the Revolutionary veterans are starting point for these memorials, they are intended to become a place to memorialize all lost veterans of Delaware County. This is to be achieved by a partnership with Veterans Services, the municipalities, and the local chapter, the DAR. And Brian will talk to you a little bit about the funding. And I have Amy, Brian will talk to you a little bit about the design competition, and I will not regale you with any more stories of that, guys. But thank you, and if you have questions, don't hesitate.
So Daryl, was the city aware that we were gonna be helping find the site for this?
So, let Brian tell you what, the county is considering.
Okay.
Director of the County Veteran Service Office.
Okay.
So the County Veteran Service Office is a countywide office that is there to basically the one-stop shop for everything that deals with veterans, working with the VA. We have a multitude of our own programs. So we are the hub of basically all veterans activities in the county. I report to 5 veterans that are appointed by the common pleas judge. Those are the Veteran Service Commissioners. Those 5 individuals are basically, collectively an elected official. So no different than like the Board of Health or any one of the other boards that have statutory authorities in the revised code. So we are, a statute of the revised code. I actually have one of my Veteran Service Commissioners here in the back, Christine Santiago Cruz. She is also associated with the VFW here in Sunbury. So local point of contact. But what this is Linda had pointed out, is a memorial for 2 different things. One for the 250th anniversary and another one to account for veterans that we don't know where they're buried at, they're buried on private property, or there's some story to where there's no memorial for them. So this is more in historical nature. This is not going to be for somebody that gets recently cremated and wants to be on the memorial. Because there's ways that we can take care of that. There's stuff we get to the VA, we can take care of.
There's a different lane for that.
This is for historical purposes. So those names will be etched on this memorial. So, coming in front of a body, you normally probably think, okay, what are they asking for as far as funding? We're not asking for funding. What we're asking for is a partnership. The Veteran Service Commission has already funded $75,000 for each site for a total of $225,000. If it goes, what we're looking at doing next is partnering with, got in touch with the Delaware Foundation. And they are going to set up an account for us to where we're going to elicit donations. Because there's probably a lot of people that are going to want to donate to this. So rather than just, funding the thing completely, we want community involvement. And in talking with the Delaware Foundation, it sounds like that they're pretty confident there's going to be want to be a lot of community involvement. I think for the 250th anniversary, as well as a place to a home for veterans from years past that have no resting place. So what we'll do is we'll go forward with that to a certain point. And, we'll see where we're at for funding. If we're underneath the funding, then I'll approach the Veteran Service Commission again for additional funds. I don't, based on what I've heard from the Delaware Foundation, I don't know if we're gonna need to get to that point.
What's your deadline for that?
So I'll let Amy talk more about this, but they want us to have, an idea of what's going on a year beforehand. So, to start on the actual memorial, so we're gonna do this in Veterans Day in 2026, so not take away from the, 250th anniversary as far as the celebrations and stuff like that, but to have its own event to where it would be on Veterans Day of the 250th year. So this would not be in, July 4th, this would be on Veterans Day of 2026. So the funding, that's talk through that. The design, I'll let Amy talk about the design, but it's a year out is what we're looking at. So as far as my part, what we're looking at is partnership with the city. So it's yourself, City of Delaware, City of Powell, and there would be one at each site. The idea would be to have one at the three cities that are located wholly within Delaware County. Most of the city of Columbus is in Franklin County, majority of Westerville is in Franklin County, and the majority of Dublin is in Franklin County. Those are the other three municipalities that come in. But the cities of Delaware, Powell, and Sunbury are wholly within Delaware County. So that's why those three were chosen. And what we're doing is we're chopping up the county into 3 different sections. So that way veterans that are from, they're attached somewhere in this area will go to Delaware, the southern part would go to Powell, and then the eastern part would come to Sunbury. So it would be up to the cities to determine where they want to put these at. So there would be a determination on your factor, but it's probably going to be a part of the process as far as what it's going to end up being is probably what you're going to think of where you want to house something like this. So with that, any questions for me before I turn it over to Amy?
These monuments, would the veterans from the Sunbury area, would they be on the Sunbury monument?
Yes.
The ones from Powell would be in the Powell? Okay.
So for example, Linda was talking about Harlem.
Mhm.
The Harlem's on the eastern part of the county.
All of those folks would be on
So
ours.
the eastern part of the county would go
On that monument. Okay.
Correct.
Have you worked with the Myers Inn at all, the Historical Society?
I have not.
They'd be a good
I've let
source.
The professionals do the stuff with the historical part of it. I run in the financial and some of the collaboration part of it. So I'll let them run with that.
That's a great idea.
Okay.
And to answer your question, not yet, but we want to.
Yeah.
So my name is Amy Wright. I'm with the City of Delaware Parks and Recreation Department. I'm actually the administrator for Oak Grove Cemetery. And I work under the direction of Parks and Rec Director Ted Miller. So I just want to give you kind of an idea. Linda had brought this concept and we were talking about marking unmarked veterans and do we do cenotaphs, which is simply a marker where there's no person buried, to acknowledge them. And, I took it to Ted and say, hey, here's what the DAR is interested in, what we're talking about. And we looped Brian in and he said, well, hey, I think we can get some funding and let's think very seriously about the 3 separate locations so that we are encompassing the whole county. And Ted said, well, what about a design competition? Thought being, if we think of something like the Vietnam War Memorial, for example, that came about through a design competition. So, they put a proposal out and asked for submissions, and then decided on that design. And we all know of the impact of that design on the memorial itself and anyone who views it. So thought being, there are many, many very nice veterans memorials all over the state in every little town and city and cemetery, and they're nice looking granite blocks, and that's wonderful. We're kind of going for something a little bit different with a little bit more of a wow factor that we see would be a draw to each of our communities and to our county collectively. So The idea then is a design competition. We've kind of got a rough draft going. We've got some feedback. We need to finalize the details. But we're looking at launching that this summer. It would take place this summer. We would accept submissions, hopefully from various artists, maybe veteran artists, who knows? We lay out the parameters of what was already described to you. Basically, what we're looking for is something unique to Delaware County. They could even, 3 separate locations, 3 separate pieces, be unique to each community some way, but thematically, they would also tie together and connect the county that way. So we have identified Delaware Oak Grove Cemetery will likely be the site of our memorial. So like Dave mentioned, we're looking for Sunbury and Powell to identify their preferred locations, and then, to some extent, those locations may inform what size or shape or what have you. But think beyond just granite. Granite is wonderful for engraving names and dates. Maybe it has a granite base. Maybe it's a sculpture, a statue of some kind, like some artistic. I don't even know. The possibilities are kind of endless, but open at this point. So that's what we're looking to do. Design competition would take place this summer. We've also discussed having some like first, second, third place awards type of thing, just to make it worthwhile for, significant artistic endeavor. We would have a committee that selects, the design and move forward, and then we have a full year to actually see it come in, well, a year and then some to come to full completion and installation then in the fall of next year. So that's that in a nutshell. Question?
Did the artists submit 3 designs, or they might just design one for Powell and then that's it?
Yeah, and this would be something where, like, as the committee would retain rights to those designs, so maybe it's not necessarily, maybe what we're getting from the artist is just the design. And then we commission someone to actually build it, so to speak. Or
But an artist could just submit 1, or you want them to submit 3?
see how
Okay.
how it goes. Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit open to nailing down the details of what we're looking for. But
Initially, what we were thinking, the artist would submit to read, because the idea is that you want them related. in-
Sure, that makes sense.
But the thought process was to have them be in relation of some kind.
Yeah, so let me add this. So in your packet is an earlier version of the design competition scope. So you get just kind of a general sense of where that stands at the moment. As Amy has indicated, I mean, there is a selection committee that will review the proposals from the artists. Does include a representative from the city of Sunbury. So, we'll have a role to play in that, but it's whatever, an 11-member group at this point. And so it's, meant to cover kind of the full spectrum of participants in this project. So at this point, what we're trying to do is, again, just make sure that the committee understands this effort that's underway. And I think I've included it in city manager report at some point as well. One, to basically just understand that this is underway, appreciate the Veterans Services Group coming in and providing the bulk of the funding. I mean, that is a major contribution being made by the county. And also, I think to acknowledge that this is a county-based activity. This is not just a standalone Sunbury activity or Powell or what have you. And the partnerships go beyond the political jurisdictions to include, the Daughters of the American Revolution and other groups as well. So we will at some point be back to talk to you a little bit more about locations. We've identified somebody, or some of them I probably should have introduced at the beginning. For those who don't know, Cynthia Conroy. Cynthia is the cemetery sexton here in Sunbury. So we certainly have some options in the cemetery, but those won't be the only options I think that we may want to consider for this memorial. That said, the ideal location may be impacted by the actual design that's selected as well. So we'll have to be a little bit fluid, I think, on that. But like I said, we developed some initial thoughts. We'll start to work that through now that you've gotten the introduction here. Yeah.
partnership, like you said, countywide, so DAR is primarily handling the research and who's eligible and who's going on Memorial Day. Will work with Veterans Services to then determine going forward what the parameters are as needing to consider to be added in the future. The cities then, of course, their own sites and identifying those. We Delaware, Ted and I are going to handle the design competition. Sort of facilitating all these partnerships and then Veteran Services, the big financial lift.
Yeah.
So that's
Collaboration is key in Delaware County. I have found.
Yep.
That's awesome. Thank you all for coming today. We love the idea. We're grateful to be included. If you need anything from us, you have Daryl's contact information. I'm sure he'll give it to you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Molly, were you gonna say something else?
No,
wanna-
for the artists, if you have quite a few artists, you want to deal with local artists, maybe, that might be a good idea if Sunbury's design came from a local artist in Sunbury, Powell's came from a local artist, because they know the area as well. And they could probably work with the local VFW to get some hints on what to include. It might be beneficial.
So once we get the final draft of the design competition together and pushed out, we'll make sure that gets, and share it, push it
Yep.
out all your networks and channels and help us garner some good submissions.
Really exciting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Really.
Yeah.
Sorry for delay.
That's what this is.
Okay, we are going to move on in our new business to the Sunbury Pride 2025. This event is going a little backwards in our matrix, but that's okay. It was submitted a little bit too late to make it to our April events commemoration meeting, so we bumped them up to Parks, and they were at our last Parks meeting in May, and they had a representative there, so I don't see one today, but that's okay. They've already answered our questions. So this event permit application begins on page 4 of your packet. This will be the second year in a row that they have come. We didn't have any trouble last year, and it doesn't look like they're asking for anything different. They had some tents on here, but they were 12 by 12, so that's under the threshold that makes Kovac itchy. Was there anything else that's happened since
Since the Parks Committee, I've talked to Mary, they have members of the Red Cross in their group, so the first aid, I'm not concerned about.
that was a concern of yours?
And Dick's not concerned about it. We've also talked about trash. I'm gonna help them gather some of the Kroger disposable trash bins. Because between all the events going on in the square that day, our outside receptacles are gonna get full.
Sure.
So I'm just gonna assist them with that because they weren't sure where to start. So it sounds like we've got a good plan in place and the first aid.
They'll be responsible for
And they
cleaning
will
those
remove
up.
all the trash at the end of the day.
Yeah, they were a pretty easy group to work with. Any other concerns from the committee or from staff?
Police, is there?
The police have been made aware that the event's taking place. They will be there.
Thank you. I see at the end of our packet here on page 17 is like a,
I think that
Is
got
that
in
just-
there on accident.
okay, cause I'm like this, well, it threw me off because she's here. And so I was like, well, I
thought
don't
you
your
were not-
agenda
To be
for
fair,
the gallery. There's just a random sewer
installing our new
account
cabinets.
paper.
She is leaving.
A VIP of Sunbury, yeah, there's just a random sewer note in our, and then Cynthia's here, so I was like, well, I don't know how you're gonna relate, but. Okay. So we have been for, I want to say 4 months now, talking about rescheduling this meeting. It was so great that all those folks were able to come, so that was awesome. But at the last minute, well, not at the last minute, but earlier this morning, Mr. Capel let us know that he wasn't going to be here. So in fairness to him, we really need to push this off another month. that discussion of potentially moving it. Amber, do you have some dates, some days of the week and times that you maybe want to push out and we can think about it and then really come to a conclusion in June?
I know that Tuesdays and Thursdays work for some of the other groups in the area. Because they work from home and they can make it to meetings through the
Mhm.
day.
The Charter Commission is ending.
I was gonna say, so Charter Commission finished up this week. So Tuesdays at 5:30 have already kind of been earmarked for staff that, you know, at least Daryl, myself, we've been at that. I think 5:30 might be late enough that folks can get here, everything like that. That was the thought process behind the Charter Commission. But that is, at this point, it's done. It's gonna be going to council shortly. So that's at least a time that has been blocked off and council chambers is available, everything like that. So
Okay, and this would only be once a month. Okay, maybe you could float that by Damon. I forget, so I won't speak for him, but I know there was Tuesdays and Thursdays, one was good and one was bad based on his wife's work
Yeah.
schedule. Yeah, I can't speak for him, but
You can text him.
we'll find that out and then. But for now, next meeting will be June 19th at 3:30 PM. Anything else from even sewer related or events related from the staff? Okay, I will motion to adjourn.
3:30, it really doesn't work for me. Can it be at 5:30?
Oh, you're talking about the next meeting? Well, why don't we just set it as June 19th? We can ask the time. I mean, if we have to go back to 3:30, we will, because that's been what's established, but let's check that.
Is changing the meeting time something that can be done off of line, like not us three, but through Amber, maybe if she could talk to Damon and see, and then
Yeah.
if Amber could push that out, and we all come to an agreement. So for now, we'll just schedule it because you only need like 24, 48 hours to put it online. I mean, we could get this done.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. The public meeting notice in the city's, the council rules basically, allows for it to be done digitally, does not set the date and time for any of the committees. So they're flexible.
Okay, great. So Amber, if you don't mind talking to Damon for us,
Yeah.
see if maybe Tuesdays at 5:30, which would be if we change that. Well, I guess, would we just stick with the third Tuesday?
Any Tuesday.
Okay. I think the third Tuesday might be nice because that gets us in before council. If we need anything
Yeah.
to go to council. So right now we're gonna schedule the meeting June 19th at 3:30 PM with potentially having a meeting on the 17th at 5:30.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going with the next meeting was gonna be June 19th, regardless.
Oh, okay.
You know, and then the question is just whether it bumps, you know.
Well,
to-
June 19th is a federal holiday. It's Juneteenth.
Oh.
That's true. Council here, I mean, you guys aren't.
No, it's a federal holiday. They're off.
We had the Juneteenth last year. It's on Wednesday.
It happens every year.
Yeah, but it doesn't happen every Wednesday in June.
It's a
Anyway.
Thursday this
It's a
year.
Thursday.
So that means.
Oh,
That makes sense.
you'd have to- So Tuesday would be the better option this year, or for June anyways, since we're not here.
I don't want to schedule that though without Damon because
I
I'm
will-
worried that Tuesdays might be Vanessa's long day.
Okay.
Um,
Well, maybe for this one,
so TBD,
if needed, we move this one to Tuesday.
well, we'll definitely need a meeting because we'll be talking.
Yeah.
Likely, hopefully about sizzle.
Yes.
So,
So.
okay, so we'll just leave it TBD and we'll
Yeah.
talk to
I'll reach
Damon.
out once I.
You just don't schedule anything without reaching out to us individually. Okay,
it's kind of like when the Planning and Zoning Commission, sometimes they will canvass the group and schedule it.
Yeah,
So we'll
sure.
do exactly the same.
Memorial Day was probably there. Are you guys meeting? It's probably Memorial Day. Yeah. That Thursday out. You guys are meeting the Thursday after Memorial Day?
Yeah.
Okay. So on the off chance of Damon can't do Tuesdays, we'll be mindful of that. That sounds good. I will motion for adjournment. Looking for a second.
Second,
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Ayer?
yes.